Hey there, everybody. This is Kaylee McMahon. Y'all already know me from Number One Leading Ladies podcast, where we focus on bringing women up instead of tearing each other down. Today, we have a special guest with us, Erin Mathis. I'll let her introduce herself before we get going.
Hi, Kaylee. Nice to meet you. I am a style coach. So I guide women to create authentic style from head to toe that helps them make the impact they want to make, attract the people and opportunities they want to attract, and to feel the way they want to feel.
Those are three very important things, and I'm glad that you are able to put it in such a succinct form. I think ladies that are watching or listening or reading this later could take some definitely impactful tips from what we're going to cover. We'll go into a little bit more about you, and then, of course, if you have anything that would be able to be carried over into someone else that's listening as advice, or give them kind of a little taste before they work with you. We can do that. So what we do is we ask 3 questions typically, and we can always veer off. The first one that we'd like to know with your business or in regards to a startup, a lot of people look at entrepreneurs as, okay, you have flexibility of time, you can do whatever you want, you can take time off, you pay yourself, whatever you feel like, I guess, out of the company's proceeds, which is just not realistic. It's not real life, So for me, getting started and then getting to traction where I'm seeing, okay, people actually like my services and they want to pay for it and they're actually going to continue to show up. For me to get started, there's always these sacrifices you make in the beginning, putting your first business on a credit card, living with your parents, whatever it is for the struggle. What did it take for you? What did that struggle look like? And then what did it take for you to get from that place to traction?
Yeah, it took a lot of envisioning, dreaming, hard work. I really kind of reinvented my career in a certain way about 3.5 years ago. I have been a part of a company called the Style Corps for 15 years. So we train image consultants and personal stylists all over the world. We have tools and guides. And I came into that business with my mother-in-law, who has been a pioneer, one of the pioneers in this industry. So I had been kind of working in more of a director of operations role and running the company and a little bit more background. But we were in Los Angeles and we moved back. I got tired of the city. We moved back to my small hometown. And I felt like, I wanted to work with women all over the world, but I had to figure out a way to do that as a style coach. So I really reinvented myself from just director of operations and running a lot of back end stuff. And I was styling, but I met with some business coaches. So for me, that was really critical in helping me think bigger outside of the box. I mean, I am a visionary, I'm a dreamer, but I needed other people to help me think bigger. So that really, it was one key meeting with a business coach that just kind of opened up my mind of this way I could reinvent myself. I knew it had to be virtual. And this was before pandemic. So it was 1.5 years before, 2 years before pandemic. So I basically reinvented as a virtual style coach and started a program, a 7-step program that I can work with ladies who are a lot of entrepreneurs. They're very busy. They only have a little bit of time to invest, but it needs to be strategic. So I started that program. It's called Your $1 Million Look. And I started just doing it. Actually, I pre-sold it and then I built it as I went, knowing the outline and knowing how it was going to come together. And then it was honestly just so much hard work. I was working 60-hour weeks. My body was feeling like I was going to break down, but it was amazing. The program worked really well. It started small, began to grow it, develop it, improve it. So I would say that's a long roundabout answer to your question, but what gave me traction was really meeting with business coach and expanding my mentors even more than I had, and a lot of hard work.
How did you find somebody that you knew was already doing or had already accomplished what you wanted to accomplish? Because you could listen to anybody's advice. Lots of people share advice when they've never even tried to do something that you want to do. How did you find those good matches?
Yeah, I I just started reaching out and sort of meeting initially with different business coaches and kind of feeling like who resonated. What I wanted to do in my industry is brand new. So I'm kind of like a pioneer. I tend to kind of invent and innovate and create tools and trainings, and as does my mother-in-law. She's a real innovative person. So there was nobody doing exactly what I wanted to be doing. I wasn't seeing it. And when I get these new ideas, I always feel like nobody else is doing this. I'm going to be the first one. I got to do it good and I got to do it fast before somebody else. And sure enough, I started the whole kind of online style coaching, which we had been working online with clients around the world for a decade in different ways. But this was like a very specific program. So I didn't see anybody doing exactly what I wanted to be doing, but I met with a coach who worked with creatives specifically, and she just helped me think bigger. But yeah, finding coaches who you resonate with, and it could take a while.
How did you find her? Like on LinkedIn, or how did I
find her? I found her through, I can't even remember, probably Google search. But I like to listen to, it could have been a podcast too. I listen to a lot of podcasts. And when business coaches are going on podcasts and sharing their vision, their philosophy, their message, that's a really good way to kind of see if you identify and resonate.
Yeah.
So the first one that I met with, we really resonated. She gave me an opportunity to present to her community and to be like an associate coach in the area of style. And then that opened some doors and got me going. And then we collaborated for a while. And then after a while, as I kind of expanded and I found a different business coach, and I'm still in contact with the first one, but yeah, it's just listening, observing.
Yep. I think that's right. So that explains a little bit about, how we got traction going. When people started to pay for your services and you actually saw traction actually really happening, either going in your bank account or whatever, once the working with the coach happened, what did that phase look like? I think you had mentioned that you had the program that you built as you went. And then was there a certain amount of like advertising or networking groups, or like how did you find your customers and then adjust your pricing to where it was like, okay, we can scale this?
Yeah, exactly. I was starting with a pretty high cost package. I think it was the first coaching package was $1,100. And then after going through that, I realized it's got to be like 3 times. So it was $3,500 and there was higher packages above that. So it was really expensive as I was doing it with individuals myself. But I always knew that I want this program to be scalable, affordable. I want thousands of women to be able to get into it. So I had the vision, but I had to workshop it. I had to do it. I had to, practice it. And so that's what I did. And some launches were larger than others. It was definitely profitable, but it wasn't like a huge windfall. But yeah. I was pioneering. I was building this whole new way of working in our industry.
Yeah.
And so how did I reach that next step? There was a couple key things that happened for me. I realized that I needed to expand my audience through speaking. And I haven't done much speaking at all, but my dad's a preacher. And I have done it. Actually, I've done it in the past. And I don't know. I just thought I can do this. I can speak. So I started to just put it out. I speak. I can present. And I built a website. I'm a speaker. I got an invitation. I sort of used that moment to capture photos and just, I'm a really big believer in you visualize something, you create it, you see it, and then that kind of manifests it in real life. And the same is true with style. So I've done virtual makeovers where I just help people get a vision of what they could look like if they did their hair, makeup, and wardrobe like this. Because I'm also a Photoshop expert. I started in graphic design. But I'm a big believer in putting out the vision of what you want to manifest. So little tiny speaking gig in Los Angeles, hired a photographer, set it up like a photo shoot, like had her shoot great photos. put that out into the world. And then next thing I know, I'm getting asked, do you want to do a TEDx talk?
Wow, that's awesome.
That was amazing. It was like, my answer was, hell yes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It was somebody I knew who works at a university. They were putting it, and I had to go through the approval. It wasn't just like an automatic in, the whole committee had to see what I was presenting. And so
that's traction. Yeah.
So I would say that was a key moment of breakthrough for me.
Yeah.
And then, just all the while learning, soaking up everything I could for online marketing, online courses, scaling, selling, Facebook ads, sales funnels, because, I'm a stylist, but I know that bottom line, you got to sell. And not just sell, but you have to help people understand that what I have is really going to change your life. Like, it's really valuable, and it is. And I have seen major transformations with my clients. But so that, and then the pandemic happened in 2020, and everybody in my industry was very quickly scrambling to figure out how to do virtual style coaching.
Yeah.
And I had like a decade of experience, plus the last 2 years of very, very intensive specific. So I reached out to a colleague I really like in Australia who trained with us and taken our course. And I said, hey, she had a podcast. And she said, want to come on my podcast? I said, yes. Do you want to create an online course together for personal stylists that's all about going virtual? And we very quickly, she said, yes, let's do it. We started working together. We were a dream team. We are a dream team. We really like each other. And we created this course and got, trying to think the first time, I think it was like several hundred experts from all over the world who were going to train with us for how to do virtual image consulting. So the pandemic opened up this key moment of opportunity that I was ready for by, serendipitously ready for.
Wow.
And then that just really catapulted a lot of things. So immediately, our company is definitely a leader in our industry, but I was not as much in the forefront until doing this course. And then from there, just creating all these tools for virtual styling. And so
kind of like an add-on, you kind of find out where, like, okay, this is a great initial offering, and.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do I do virtual color consulting? We already have what I think are the best tools in the industry, but they're physical. And so took that and made it digital, and a whole template and tool that you can use now to do a color palette for anybody anywhere in the world, because now our audiences can be global.
Yeah. And then, then you're working with billions and billions of people versus a smaller audience.
Yeah.
And that's very unique. I've actually got some questions that I'll come back to at the end here. But want to go on to the next question real quick. So what would you say in a general sense has been your biggest lesson?
Biggest lesson? Oh, gosh. I think, I worked hard for a long time, but at a certain point, and I kind of burned out just in certain respects. Before I reinvented my career and got very specific about how I wanted it to look, I think the big lesson was you can't just work harder, you have to work smarter. So I had been learning, I had been taking online courses, but I just really upped my level of learning, getting mentors, collaborating. Just the key is to learn the knowledge you need to be smart and strategic with your hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, that's a great lesson.
That's just pretty basic, but that's probably, yeah.
But I mean, if you don't learn that, if you don't learn that lesson, you'll never move forward. So
that's right. And then it maybe hand in hand with that too was just learning to take better care of myself. I was actually just listening to the podcast of, I think, your last guest or the last one you aired, and she was talking about taking care of your physical self as an entrepreneur. And that's been also a big lesson for me, is putting together my team, creating my routines, my supplements, my health, because I'm at an age where it's really important to stay healthy and strong. And
I mean, anybody at any age should take care of your health. No one else is going to do it but you, so.
That's right. I mean, I think we can get away with a lot more, maybe even into our 30s. I'm actually 50. I just turned 50, and thank you. So you're like,
wow.
That, and it was during my 40s that I really experienced a lot of, I think, more health things and depression and hormones, and that's just really common. A lot of women go through it, and so if you neglect your health and your food, good eating, nutrition, exercise, it can start to tank really fast. So I had to really learn, alongside being a parent, parenting young kids. I had kids a little bit later. So I was an older parent, being a parent, being an entrepreneur, starting up. We have a technology company, as well as the things that I do with style coaching, finding that balance of health and taking care of myself.
That is an incredible lesson, because I think what I hear most often from people that are in my industry that are older, and people that are older just in general in my industry, it's, I wish I wouldn't have sold that property. I wish I would have held. I hear that all day long. And then on the other end, every human is like, I wish I would have taken care of my health, because once you lose it, you can usually never get it back. And that's, the one thing that helps you get out of bed, helps you talk to people, helps you have good mental health. I mean, all the things. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a pretty good lesson.
Yeah. And, it also just reflects. Yeah. I mean, and then it reflects, and you look, anti-aging, and not everybody likes that term, anti-aging, but it helps you look younger and more vibrant.
Yeah.
And in a culture where there is ageism, that's helpful.
And I mean, I know someone that's in their early 80s. This person is like as chipper and as mobile and as disease-free and whatever as someone that's probably in their early 50s, and it's kind of incredible that you would never guess that Gary's that age, so, and it's exactly,
right.
It's because he is involved in biomedical supply, basically nutrition, so he engineered supplements that were going to extend life, reduce the amount of shortening of your telomeres over time and things like that. But he just, he spent,
I'm into all that. I listen to those podcasts. I love it.
It became a passion, and then it turned into a business for him. Not everyone has to do that, but I mean, the time I think, should be spent. I mean, could you imagine not needing knee replacements, not needing surgeries, not needing, to be in the hospital when you're in your 80s.
That's right. There's a lot of preventative. And actually, I got to give a shout out to my mentor, my mother-in-law, Erin Mathis, because she's in her early 80s, and you never know it by looking at her. And it's not plastic surgery. She's totally natural, which is another amazing, rarity. And she's super active, super healthy, probably has more energy than me in general, and is passionate about the work she does, training, working with clients. So she, I have that shining example too. Right. And she also takes really good care of herself.
Absolutely. I mean, that's great to have that example. Someone that, because there's people I can look at that, they look awesome, and they have all the time in the world to be able to give to themselves, or the time and money or whatever. But when you're building a business, it's good to have, role models in your life that have a similar life structure, and they can make it work, or make a hybrid, make it work. Let's just say that. So I want to go back to something that I heard somewhere in there that sometimes is a buzzword, sometimes is it's caused me some, I don't know how to say it, some lack of scale quicker. But again, timing is everything. So I would have gotten to do this thing I'm about to cover with a different business that I don't think was meant to scale. So that was more of a test business, I think. But the buzzword being sales funnels, for example, or funnels, for example. So as far as getting your audience to look at what all your offerings are on a wide scale, lower price point, for example, or freebie, for example, and then kind of titrating them down through more offerings and more things to get them to be your ideal client that you probably work one-on-one with at that higher ticket price point. And in my business right now, it's real estate investors. So it's similar but different. And that's something that I'm actually struggling with right now, and I don't know who may be listening to this later, but it's like, for example, if you finally, like me during the lockdown, figure out, okay, what is it? How do I describe it to other people? How do I build a graphic to show somebody else, here's what I envision as my top line, middle, blah, blah, blah. When this happens and this happens and this happens, like a pinball going down a machine. But then how do you find the right people to build it that won't take advantage of you, that know what they're doing, who are a reasonable price, who can kind of work with you to design things? Because maybe you're like me and you're the visionary and you go, okay, here's what we're going to start with and here's what we're going to end with. And all the crap in the middle, I don't know how to do any of it, So I try to teach myself and kind of build my own on Go High Level, which is what I used and copied some graphics and things from ClickFunnels and then moved it over there. But again, because I'm not the expert, you look at this thing that I created and I created the whole thing, but it doesn't flow. So I need to then go hire somebody else to come in and do quality control and figure out what buttons don't work. Why is this going over here? Why do people not move to the next page, etc.? What would be your advice with the whole sales funnels process?
Yes, good question. I just went through a whole bunch of sales funnels, right? And I took screenshots, I took notes, gathered like what felt effective for me, and then you can literally copy it. Now, it's totally different industry, so you're not literally copying it, but I shouldn't say literally. You can copy the concept and put it into your own industry of the psychology and the strategy. It's fascinating to learn the psychology of a sales funnel. If I had more time, it would be really fun. But, as an entrepreneur, you're juggling so much. So I did a bunch of that where I just kind of learned, copied certain aspects, implemented, put my own unique spin on it, my own branding. I am a graphic designer, so it's really helpful.
Yeah.
But then I recently hired a higher level copywriter who really knows the psychology. And I love that. I'm like, give me the strategy. I can even write the emails. I can fill in the content, but I want the strategy. Like, what journey am I taking somebody on to introduce myself to them, to let them get to know me, what I offer, build trust, like and trust, get them a little deeper into my masterclass, my $1 Million Look masterclass. There's the freebie, there's the masterclass. That's an hour or 45 minutes. And then there's the chance now I've scaled to a program that's totally scalable where it can be self-guided. We do some group experiences, but I also have apprentices that work one-on-one with my clients who are stylists from around the world. So I hired a high-level copywriter, and I could tell you her name if you want, but she, Katie Peacock, and she was really helpful for me in my last launch, where I did a whole new expansion of what I'd been doing. I'd been doing like high level, high price packages, like high touch. And then I moved to a more of a self-guided model. But then, as I was saying, with a whole team of apprentices that I was training to work with clients in the program.
So would you say that getting that down was something that helped you kind of get to that next level of scale?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know there's different approaches. Some people, they just do the Facebook ads or Pinterest ads or whatever, and they get people into their sales funnel and they lead to discovery calls or, sort of like 30-minute or 1 hour. Or that's usually a higher price program. So depending on your price, how much you need to like really allow people to get to know you, or have a sales team.
Right.
But it's helpful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for expanding on that because, of course, everyone that's watching, listening, reading, we're all in different phases of our business. I had someone on here who basically sold off a $300 million business that she built on jewelry, like self-made jewelry, and she's from Asia, came here as an immigrant. I mean, to me, who's on the way up, to you who's kind of gotten past that sales hump, which, I mean, that's how you continue to bring people in anyway. So we're all in different phases. So I really appreciate the very granular, specific details, so that someone that's listening, watching, or reading, can apply it, get ding, light bulb moment, and hopefully be able to move forward with that next thing. Because I mean, I'm over here going, okay, can we find that person on Fiverr? No. Can we find that person on, I've hired a bunch of VAs, for example, and I've been able to offload certain things where it's not for my business, like paying, negotiating, looking at every page of a contract or a loan document. Otherwise, everything else needs to go out to somebody else. But when it comes to this, I think that, we need to work with somebody who really understands, like you said, the psychology behind the type of me. It's mostly American people or women in Europe too. They also invest with us. But thank you so much.
And I should mention I've taken online courses about it, how to create awesome webinars with, and that was early on, how to create awesome webinars with. Oh, I can't remember his name right now. Too much in my brain to remember all those details. But if you look up that, and then also Amy Porterfield, she teaches a lot of online entrepreneurs, and she'll teach how to build a sales funnel and a whole launch. So there are some really great online courses, and I definitely invested in those types of things.
Taking some awesome notes. Oh my gosh, Erin, this has been amazing. We're towards the end of our session right now, so what I'm going to ask for anyone that's listening, watching, or reading, if they want to work with you, get a hold of you, participate in some of your programs, how can they do that?
Yeah, you can find me at erinmathis.com.
Easy.
That's my name. Yeah, get on there, get the free resource. That really is kind of my top 5 tips that I would tell any client. So if you want those quick wins, you're going to want to grab that. And from there, there's lots of options for going deeper.
Perfect. Erin, thank you so much for your time today. Everybody that's been listening, paying attention, watching, reading. Again, this has been Number One Leading Ladies, where we build each other up instead of tear each other down. Thank you for listening, and we'll see y'all next week.